So in this video, we're going to see Justice Sotomayor go after Donald Trump for the recent attacks that he has gone after when it comes to certain judges. Now, she doesn't mention him directly, but anybody with a drop of common sense will know the reasoning and the timing behind why Justice Sotomayor has come out and said the things that she said. Let's watch it together, and then I want to break down each point she speaks about, and I want to link it back to exactly what Donald Trump is doing wrong. Let's get into it.
What is the right thing that law should be aspiring to accomplish? And we as a society have to be committed to that. Right now, I understand there's a lot of questions about what that means and what are our common norms. But once we lose our common norms, we've lost the rule of law completely. So it's going back to figuring out what those are. I'm going to quote Rosie. And this was her response to me when I asked her, what should courts do to protect it? She said, quote, they need to remain fearlessly independent, protective of rights, and ensure that the state is respectful of both. I couldn't think of a better answer than that one. That is really at the end what judges should do, but it's in the end of what every citizen should do, which is ensure that the courts are fearlessly independent, that we understand that our obligation is to protect the rights given to us under the Constitution. These are not just made-up rights. The Constitution is the structure of the norms that bind us as a society in America. But we also have to demand that all others respect both of these principles. That's what our function is, Bill.
That's right. That's so powerful. That's so powerful and so timely.
It is. It is. Because and Rosie and I have been in this conversation for a while, and you can understand why, because there are some really deep thoughts about what that actually means. What does the word rule of law mean?
And that's the most fundamental point of what we do.
And a lot, I mean, one of the things that's troubling so many right now is many of the standards that are being changed right now were norms that governed officials into what was right and wrong. Once norms are broken, then you're shaking some of the foundation of the rule of law.
Is there any way to reestablish norms after they're broken?
Well, I mean, in the end, I think some of my colleagues, like Neil Gorsuch, and he talks about democracy being messy, we're going to have to go back to reminding people what the fundamentals of their obligation as citizens is, and their obligation to monitor their public representatives.
Wow. Such a timely message from Justice Sotomayor. Now, there's a few things that she said in there that I wanted to reference, I wanted to speak about, and just give my personal opinion. And that's all this is, just my personal opinion on what she's speaking about and how it relates to what it is that we're seeing with Donald Trump and everything that's happening with people on the right going after and attacking judges that don't go in favor of what it is that Donald Trump speaks about. Now, Justice Sotomayor warned about the losing of common norms and undermining the rule of law. Now, what can we see? We can take a look and we see Donald Trump, his personal attacks on judges, calling them radical left lunatics or crooked judges. That is an example of just the blatant disrespect and lack of respect for the judicial norms. Straight away. Now, understanding that, rhetoric and comments made that are like that, these are ways to erode public's trust in the system. And what it does is it divides the system. Now, if you take a look at the United States, I'm someone who obviously I don't live in the US, but from someone looking in, one of the things that I've always known is that is big for Americans is respect for the rule of law. respect for the judicial system, respect for the constitution that it is that you guys have. But there's a man in office right now that is fundamentally stripping that each and every single day, just through his actions and through the way that it is that he carries and conducts himself. We're literally seeing that in office right now. And it's crazy because this is something that we've never seen before. And this is the reason as to why I think when she was speaking, she spoke about, like, we haven't seen times like this. And we're going against the common norms. That is what Donald Trump and this administration are doing. Going after judges because of the fact they don't like that it is that the judge goes against what it is that they believe to be the right thing. You've never seen something like this, and that is the erosion of common norms. Now, the next thing that it is that Justice Sotomayor spoke about is she emphasized the importance of courts remaining fiercely independent. Now, we are literally seeing Donald Trump calling for the impeachment of judges who rule against him and he's literally defying court orders. What did we see when the plane took off to El Salvador? The judge said, no, spin it around and bring them back. We literally saw, and now I know it wasn't the Donald Trump administration. I think it was the El Salvador, the guy over in El Salvador. He literally put up a tweet saying too late. We have seen Donald Trump's borders are go on national TV and say, we don't care about what the judges say. We're going to go ahead and do it anyway. This is crazy stuff. And this is a direct challenge and a direct assault on judicial independence. This is the problem with what it is that we're seeing with Donald Trump. Now, Justice Sotomayor highlighted citizens' duty to uphold the judicial independence. Now, if we take a look at some of the things that it is that Donald Trump's saying, some inflammatory comments that he's making that's inciting threats against judges. I think it's Judge Tanya Chutkan and others that are overseeing these legal cases, creating hostile environments for these judges to do their actual job. Now, Justice Sotomayor spoke about the respect for constitutional frameworks, and she stressed the adherences to, constitutional principles being the foundation of norms, because once those foundations are gone, it's going to be so hard for us to get back to the norm. And we're literally seeing that Trump's actions, such as invoking obscure laws, such as the Alien Enemies Act, to try and justify his controversial policies, makes no sense, and it shows a blatant disregard for the checks and balances when it comes to the constitutional framework. This is the issue and the problem that it is that we have with what Donald Trump is really trying to do. Literally just going against, like I said, the common norms. And lastly, undermining the rule of law. Like Donald Trump will always take things and he'll frame it as an unfavorable ruling, as a threat to national security or the destruction of our country. And what that does is, number one, goes back to what I said earlier, it sows division. It turns the public against the judicial system. As you guys can tell, I struggle to say judicial. But that's exactly what it is that he's doing. And it's undermining the role for equal branch of government. This is the problem with what Donald Trump is doing. And this is why it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, you should have a problem with this. Because understand, within our lifetimes, at some point, the left are going to be back in power. And if you're on the right and what you're doing is accepting everything Donald Trump says, guess what the issue is? You're going to be held to that exact same standard, that exact same account in the future if somebody on the left was to do it. Do you know the only difference is that I believe that people on the left would have respect for the rule of law. So I don't think they would do it. But if they were to, you'd have no leg to stand on simply because you stood by and you watched Donald Trump do it and have absolutely no problem. In conclusion, look, Justice Sotomayor's remarks is very, very timely and very, very telling. And it's just a reminder. It's a reminder and a response to the attacks that are taking place on judges across the United States of America and the independence that it is that they depend on. And these are attacks that we've seen in recent years that have been, in recent times that have been led by Donald Trump. And her talking points literally highlight the dangers posed by, saying things like, radical left lunatics and calling judges, crooked judges. This delegitimizes the actual system. And like I said, it erodes the public confidence that it is that people have in the system and its impartiality. Donald Trump is a very dangerous man, and leading up to this election, many people warned people that he was going to be dangerous. A lot of people didn't listen, and now we're in the find out stage of this man's time in office. And what makes it worse, we're only a couple months in. There's still at least 3 3/4 years left. There's a long ride ahead. But exactly like Justice Sotomayor said, it's important that citizens hold their representatives to account. Get out there, keep protesting, go to the town halls, hold your Republican representatives to account. It's important that it's done. As usual, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below this video. Really intrigued to hear your guys' points and your opinions on this, because I really think what Donald Trump's doing in terms of the attacks on judges, the attack on the judicial system, I think it's really damaging long term. And whether you're on the left or on the right, you should be against this. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below this video. If you're brand new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And while you're down there, hit the thumbs up purely for the YouTube algorithm. Appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one.